you need to slow down to speed up. You need to take a breath and get to know people. There, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And I was always interested in the destination, meaning I always want to just finish.
Hello! This is CPA Career Path Podcast with Rosie Flaherty, CPA MSA, where we dive into thrilling journeys in the world of accounting. We have a special guest, Alan Whitman. He is a retired CEO of Baker Tilly, and now he is the advisor and coach for CEOs. So Alan, thank you so much for being on my podcast today. Before we start, can you introduce a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Rosie. So I have been a public accounting brat, as I say. I was a tax guy by background and worked in the big eight, the big firms, and then found Baker Tilly in 2003 and had a phenomenal experience helping Baker Tilly grow, become an international organization. Then I was elected to be the next CEO in 2014, and we had a phenomenal run where we tripled the size of the firm in a very short period of time. My experiences, again, as I said, span from the largest of large organizations to small companies, advising both multinationals and startups. And being a CPA and being in the CPA profession has been a phenomenal career choice for me.
Oh, thank you for saying that is amazing career choice, because we're going to go in a lot of details about that career profession. But Alan, I know it's probably a long time ago, but I'm just curious at the very beginning when you went to college, why did you go with accounting, not finance, not any other major?
Yeah, it's a great question, Rosie, and I don't have an answer. I remember it was in ninth grade in high school where I said I wanted to be an accountant or CPA, and I wanted to work for Arthur Andersen. I had heard about Arthur Andersen. It was the accounting firm for the company my father worked for. I don't know why I chose accounting. Of course, good in math. It came easy to me. You know, I could see the problems in front of me. But outside of that, I have no idea. Having said that, it was always the plan, and I went to Indiana. I wasn't a very good student in high school until junior and senior year. And I got into Indiana and I was accepted into the business school. And so I went and had a great 4 years there, learned all the things I needed to learn, and went right into public accounting. So I knew it early. I don't know why I knew it early, though.
Well, you mentioned that your dad worked in public accounting. Is that
No,
correct?
he was in technology, computers, information technology. And somehow I learned that Arthur Andersen was the accounting firm it was a large company that he worked for. I have no idea. As I said, Rosie, I'm an old man. I'm 59, and that was a long time ago. So I'm a little fuzzy on the details.
Yeah, so after you graduated, you went straight to public and you work at Big 8, Big 6 at that time. I'm just curious, at that time, why did you go straight to public? Not like, oh, let me check it out, go to private, let me check it out, go to audit. You went straight to public in tax.
Well, I wanted to be in tax. At that point, the firms were not hiring directly into tax. They were just starting. So they said, listen, we need you to go and work in audit for 6 months until tax busy season was up and running or was revved up. So I spent 6 months in audit. I'm a type of person, Rosie, that when I make a decision, I make the decision. I can certainly change my mind. I get pretty committed once I make the decision. So I appreciated the variety of all the assignments in public accounting. In fact, 3 years into my career, I wanted to move. Thought I was done with public accounting. I wasn't performing very well, which is mostly on me. And so I thought about going into industry. And I interviewed for a job at now CVS Drugs, which is a very large drugstore chain. At the time, it was Hook Super X, anyway, in Ohio. And I just realized, oh boy, this is going to be really boring for me. It's doing the same thing every month, every quarter. So I left PW and went to Coopers and Lybrand because of variety. I love the different assignments. I love the lack of structure in my assignments, if you will. I never thought to go into audit, although I did, as I said, I spent 6 months there. For whatever reason, I wanted tax. Again, it's a long time ago. I don't exactly know why. And I'm glad I made the decision because it has been a phenomenal enabler for me and all of what I'm made of today.
Yes. So it seems like you work in public accounting in your whole career. And I'm just curious, in your whole career, what are the best things in public accounting that you have learned?
One, the variety of assignments, getting to work for owners of companies, executives of companies. I had some experience working with the large publicly traded companies, but even when I was doing that, I was working with the senior executives on their tax planning And so to me, the personal connections I made along the way with the clients I serve, I still have those now. I remember coming to Michigan in 2006. I met a gentleman by the name of Mr. Bahadur, and Mr. Bahadur had started a consulting firm, and we took over the work, and he became a friend, not just a client. And or in addition to it being a client. And then I met his children. And most recently, his son, his adult son, called me and asked me to mentor him. He was at a crossroads in his career. And so I said, sure, I would love to. And along the way, I believe I helped him see the future of his career, his professional life, and in fact, introduced him to his next employer, which was the job of his dreams. And so the personal connections that people develop in public accounting, in professional services, is a very unique and desirable, attractive aspect of public accounting.
Wow, personal connection. Normally, I just heard about networking, about professional connection in this career. Now you bring up the idea of personal connection in this profession. I would love to hear more about that personal connection. How did you develop? How do you maintain that personal connection? And how do you grow your personal connection?
Yeah, it's a great question, Rosie. Look, people have different skills, right? Some are the technical people, some are the sales people, some are the client service people, some are all three. You are all three. Regardless, you find your niche or you find your space in public accounting company and your relationships with clients, and you leverage those. And I always enjoyed the personal relationships. I always enjoyed learning about the people, not just the business. And I prided myself on being a coach without knowing it throughout my career. Somebody that the clients I looked after could lean on, could count on, and could challenge in order to find a solution for whatever their issue is. I was as much interested in their personal life, how they achieved the success they've achieved, how they've grown as business or philanthropic individuals, because that lasts a lifetime versus the transactional work that you do to prepare a tax return or solve for a situation. The relationships last a lifetime. The projects last the time it takes to complete the project.
Yeah, but in your career, you're probably very busy with all your responsibilities at work. How can you still find time to understand, to get to know people in the personal side?
That's a really good question. And yes, everybody's busy and you need to slow down to speed up. You need to take a breath and get to know people, not just get to know the situation they're dealing with. And so I always a study of people's success and how they think, how they operate. You can always get the work done. Somehow you can always find a way to get the work done. You can't always build a relationship. And so you need to be intentional about it.
For me, when I learn about like relationship, about networking, about connection, I try to learn from people tips and advice from the books, from the shows, from YouTube videos. I'm just curious where the learning source that you get it from in your career. Do you have your mentor? Do you have any books you read that you recommend to people to look at?
Yeah, I've read a number of books and I always make suggestions to what to read. I like reading about successful people and how they made their decisions, how they did what they did, how they failed or how they learned when things didn't go the right way. And I'm always a student of people from other professions, not just professional services, because I like using things that I learned from them that has been successful or unsuccessful in another context in the world in which I am very, very curious. Curiosity is a very good characteristic, very good trait that young professionals should try to build, that curiousness, and learn from it. You don't need to do what other people have done. And if you take their experiences and their thinking into your own thinking and your own debating and planning, I believe you're going to make a better decision. So I read, I listen, I got a number of friends. Luckily, I've got a lot of friends and a number of them have been very successful in building their company. And I'm not their accountant. I don't work for them. I'm their friend. And I could easily just enjoy personal company, which I do. I'm also a big student of how my friends, have built their companies. And none of them are in the same field as I. One builds gears, one is an excavator, one builds roads, one is a boring company, Boring, a boring company, and they're all very different. And I learned from them or leading the business I was leading, knowing that it was a people business. And I learned from them in how I help CEOs. So I'm very curious as to other people's experiences. And I get that personal interactions in books, or I'm not as avid YouTuber or social media person like you, all of you young individuals. It's the old fashioned way, individual interaction and good old fashioned books.
Yeah, and sometimes you learn a lot from the conversations with other people. That is
Hmm.
always amazed me whenever I go to the networking events and then meet someone I never met before. And then just for such a short period of time, I say, wow, I could learn so much from this individual, from this conversation for
Yes.
probably like 15, 20 minutes. That's just
Yes.
amazing. So yeah, individual to individual interpersonal connections, that's amazing. I love that as well. Yeah, you also mentioned about learn people from successful stories and unsuccessful stories. As this period of time in your career, I know you have gone through so many successful stories in your own experience. I'm just wondering if you can share with us some of your successful stories that we can learn to advance our career, our profession in this accounting profession.
Well, look, when I started my career back in 1987, I was very professionally immature. I made a lot of mistakes. I wasn't focused. I wasn't diligent. I wasn't intentional or disciplined. And so I struggled in my first 2 years. And something clicked in me, the idea that I need to be more intentional. I need to focus. I need to slow down to speed up. I didn't even realize what that meant back in 1989, but I was practicing slowing down to speed up. I was always somebody as a young kid that wanted things to get done quickly. I wanted things done, and it was inevitable that trying to get things done quickly, you make mistakes. I wasn't smart enough. I didn't have enough experience to do things as quickly as I wanted to. And so I had some failure or some challenges, and I was able to slow down and focus my efforts and really challenge myself to do things in a slower, more methodical manner than I was used to. As I'm thinking about it, I've really never thought about it. So you're raising something I hadn't really thought about in this regard. That was a big challenge for me and an accomplishment to reimagine how I do things, which I guess you would call a success. And then my career took off, and I matured enough to understand when I was going too fast, or knowing when I needed to slow down, and knowing when I needed to become more thoughtful about something. It's interesting. There's a saying out there, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And I was always interested in the destination, meaning I always want to just finish. And oftentimes the journey is where the learning happens. I was listening to a podcaster. I was listening to somebody, and he now going on a journey to train for an Ironman. You know what an Ironman is, right? The
Yes.
Ironman race. And he said the training for the Ironman is the Ironman because he doesn't want to train. The training is the Ironman. The actual Ironman event is the culmination, and that's the prize when he actually races the race. The training is the Ironman, to train, be able to do it. That was fascinating the way he said that. And so, again, oftentimes people don't slow down to enjoy the journey because they're only interested in the destination.
It's not easy, Alan. Even for myself, a lot of time I find myself that I just focus on destination, just focus on how to get there, and then just completely forgot about journey, about all what I learned through the process. And the moment I get to the destination, I'm going to find the next destination. So,
Yeah. Look, it's the old adage, or it's a saying of instant gratification. I want it now.
yep,
I don't
exactly.
want to, I don't want to wait. I want to just, and that's not the way life works. So anyway, that was a success of mine. And look, there've been many along the way, whether it was the successful acquisitions or look, it was a success to get elected to be the next CEO of Baker Tilly, a storied organization. It was a success to, be nominated for a few positions. So there's all sorts of successes along the way, and they're nice. And now the success is talking to people like you, talking to students, mentoring people, using my skills and my experiences to help others, whether they be CEOs or C-suite executives or individuals that take me up on my offer to coach them.
That's amazing because you mentioned about the definition of being a mentor and also being a coach. And I know I have multiple discussion about the difference between mentor and coach. And in the past, I have a conversation saying that a coach is someone who in the higher level within your firm who can speak up on your behalf. But
Hmm.
now you be a coach, but you're not even within the firm. You hear people from outside, and then you still be their coach. And so I'm just want to understand. So from your viewpoint, what the definition of being a coach and how it differs from being a coach and being a mentor?
Look, a coach can be a professional coach, it can be a sports coach, it can be a life coach, and coaches are here to make you better, make you perform better. I don't know if there's really I don't know if there needs to be a difference between mentor and coach. I don't know if we to me, it could be a both and, right? It doesn't need to be binary. One is this, one is that. A mentor is somebody that's going to give you advice and is going to give you perspective on things, let you make your own decision. Maybe a mentor is a little bit more passive. Student needs to pull the information from the mentor, and the coach is more proactive and pushing things. It's interesting. I got a couple of CEOs that I'm coaching, and the CEOs realize that when they hire me, they're hiring somebody that is going to be engaged in their career and is going to be engaged in pushing them. And one of my CEOs made a comment that I like to poke the bear. The saying of, test things, and the CEO has made this clear. Yeah, he pokes the bear almost every week. And I do that intentionally because I want this CEO or all my CEOs to think differently, to not simply fall into the trap of, as I call it, founder bias. Founders are very special people. They've come up with something, they're building something, and they think they know how it should. They know the destination. And along comes somebody like me who's seen it from different points of view and seen it and had different experiences. And I've always embraced people, different points of view. I'm very intentional about poking the bear and poking at, is this the right decision? Is this not the right decision? It may very well be, but let's make sure we think it through thoroughly in order to conclude yes or no.
Yeah, I like one of the description about you is that inspire and navigate people around bold ideas and uncomfortable change. And so
Yeah.
it's just match exactly how CEOs mentioned the comments about your style. And I'm just curious, so because you lead people through so many uncomfortable change, what is your most uncomfortable change for yourself through your career?
Great question. I've had to reinvent myself a few times. When I left the big eight or four at the time to come to a small firm like Baker Tilly, I needed to reinvent myself there. I needed to become more entrepreneurial or more aggressive in building things myself rather than having the firm, the big PwC, do it for me. And look, when I retired, I wasn't done. I was not tired of working. I wanted to continue making a difference in a 6,000 person organization with all the systems and all the support is one way of being able to make a difference. Retiring and finding a way to give back as an individual was a challenge. To find the way to connect with people outside of being part of a large organization where the brand was known, et cetera. So, I've had many different career changes. I remember when I joined Baker Tilly back in 2003, my predecessor CEO, Tim Christian, asked me to build the firm's international platform. And I asked him, what is that? And I remember to the day, he said, I don't know, but you'll figure it out. He knew there was something there. He knew there was an idea. He didn't know the specifics, and he had significant respect and trust in me that I would figure it out. And I did. That was a big shift too, because I wasn't relying on the traditional client book of business. I was building something out of scratch at an organization that wasn't very international. I was building a movement. I had to lead through influence. I had to be very intentional about building things. And so that was another challenge I needed to overcome. And it was great. And all these experiences were both intimidating and exhilarating. And now looking back at them, I can see how my career has taken the path, the course that it did.
That was very impressive about what you did for Baker Tilly. Like you helped the firm went global for the first time while expanding into 15 new domestic and 6 international markets. And that was very impressive. And also successfully completed over 20 mergers and acquisitions in the matter of just a few years. Wow, you did a lot as being a CEO at Baker Tilly.
Well, I was the CEO, Rosie. A number of people did a lot of things. I certainly had my hand in it, of course. And the biggest thing that I was able to do was put together the right people. I started leading the firm in 2015. And in 2018, we unveiled a new strategy. We spent a lot of money, more than $1 million on a consultant to help us with a strategy. And I remember at the time saying, we need to set a goal for 2025 that we would be, and goal was we're going to achieve $1.5 billion in revenue. And I remember a few of my former colleagues working together to prove the math that was possible. And they came to me and they said, it's impossible. You would have to grow at this rate. You have to do this many acquisitions. We can't put that goal out there. We can't communicate that goal because it's foolish to do it, because it's impossible for us to do. And we unveiled the strategy, we executed the strategy, and we achieved the 1.5 billion 2 years early.
Wow.
And look, one of the things that I've experienced, and I think one of my characteristics is my ability to exist in the abstract. I don't need all the details in order to lead a movement. I'm more mission-based and strategy-based and vision-based than I am detail-based. And that's been proven through assessments that I've taken. My prudence score is very low. So I was very comfortable saying, I don't need to prove that I can do it. All we need to do is start the process and we'll see what happens. And most accountants want it very organized and structured, and I don't need that. So when I was told you can't do this, that's foolish, I said, we're going to do it anyway. We're going to do it anyway. And the team just band together and achieved things that none of us thought we could achieve. If we would have really asked ourselves, is this possible? We probably would have said no. The majority of the people would have said no. But there were enough people there. And one of the things that I was able to do was lead them to thinking differently, the art of the possible. And they achieved it 2 years early. We achieved it 2 years early. And that is an amazing experience, a success, I would say, that I'm very proud of on behalf of all the people that achieved what they did, because it wasn't just played a part. There were many people that enabled that to be reality.